We are recording.
We are recording. Okay. Well, then we'll just dive right in. Lisa, do you want to take yourself off mute and come get on screen with us? There you are. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, welcome everyone. You are joining us today for the Humboldt County Human Rights Commission yearly town hall meeting. This year we have added an additional couple hours, which will happen at 12 o'clock this afternoon. And that is what we're calling a listening session, where our sheriff and Supervisor Bass are joining us. And we want to hear what you feel the state of human rights are in Humboldt County and issues that we need to focus on for the next year as we build our calendar. All right, Eddie, did you just let some folks in? Eddie, I can't hear you.
Yes, I did, but I will put them back in the.
I would appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, so first I'll introduce myself, and then I'll be introducing you to the other commissioners that are joining us today. My name is Lelana Dubois, and I was newly elected into the role of chair of this commission. This is a commission that has been established since 1964. So there's a long legacy of do-gooders before the commissioners you're going to meet this week. Some of the commissioners that you will meet this week have actually been with us almost since the beginning of that. So we are a diverse group of people who have many experiences in this community, and we're all coming to this table as volunteers. This is a fully volunteered commission, and doing what we can to help address some of the issues that we all feel very passionate about as commissioners, because we do care so much about this community. So I want to start by introducing you to our two commissioners besides myself that are here today to help us go through our town hall meeting. And what that is it's an agenda where we're going to share with you the different issues that we have addressed in this past year and that exist on our agenda, and help take you through the process of how to work with us so we can help you in our community. So first I'll give a brief introduction to the commissioners, then I will walk you a little bit through that process of how we work, and then we as a team will go through the agenda and help share with you what we've been doing. And then at the end of this, we'll have some time for public comment, but then we're going to take a break. And at 12 o'clock today, we invite all of you to come back with us, the commissioners, Sheriff Hansel and Supervisor Bass. And at that point, we want to listen to you. We want to hear where you feel this county can do better in human rights, or where have you been impacted, or have you been impacted? And that's really what today is about. But for the first 2 hours, we'll be sharing with you what we do, educating you on how the commission works so that you can come to us and we can support you better on your missions. All right, so you can see we have three of us here today. Has Larry showed up yet? Eddie, is he?
No, I'm not seeing Larry at all.
Okay, I know he lives out of the way, so he might be having some hard time with Wi-Fi. So that's all understandable. So Eddie, I'd like to introduce Eddie Morgan. He is our vice chair. He helps me with the administrative work, communication. He's doing a lot of work in getting us digitally oriented so we function better in this new age. Eddie, please introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Eddie Morgan. I hope everybody can hear me. I've been on the committee for over two and a half years now, I believe. My first real introduction to human rights, I would say, was when I was a kid in different countries where I saw different rights being violated, And then I later joined the military, where I was a multinational observer. So I worked side by side with the UN people, and then also spent time in Kosovo and in Bosnia, where we looked at the human trafficking and saw a lot of human and other many other things. And now that I am back here in my own community, I want to continue helping people, and that's why I was very attracted in being part of the Human Rights Commission, and hope that I can do what I can as a citizen for it.
Thank you, Eddie. Eddie also is the new chair for the Human Trafficking Committee, which is one you'll hear more about later, but it's one of our few standing committees. Hi, Lisa. Welcome.
Hi there.
So next you're going to meet, as you can see, Lisa Sundberg. Lisa is our newest commissioner, but we won't say leastest. We're incredibly excited to have her on board. Welcome, Lisa. Could you introduce yourself to the community?
Oh gosh. Yes, I am. My name is Lisa Sundberg. I'm excited to be here. I'm one of many professional volunteers at the table because I'm passionate about the different things that affect our community. I'm a member at the Trinidad Rancheria, lived here, born and raised in this community. I went to Trinidad Elementary School and McKinleyville High School. I attended Humboldt State University. And so now I'm on the subcommittee for human trafficking, as well as racism and cultural awareness. And gosh, there's just so much depth of that. I'm glad to be a part of something in this day and age where we can actually do something to impact it. Because human trafficking, our people have been human trafficked a long time. So it's nothing new to us. It's just a matter of it's got a new face and a whole new people of interest that are using it. And I just want to become more aware, become more involved in it, understand it, as well as racism and how it has evolved into our systemic systems around us, and see how we can impact that. So I'm looking forward to doing a lot of work here, rolling up my sleeves, listening. I'm a strategist, I'm a visionary, and I like to get stuff done. So I like to hear ideas. So that's kind of what I'm bringing to the table, and I look forward to working with everybody and hearing what the problems are here in this area. So thank you for that, for the ability to introduce myself, and I'll pass it back to you, Lelana.
All right. Thanks, Lisa. Super excited. And thanks both of you for taking time out of your regular work schedules to do this work for the community. So I'm Lelana Dubois. As I mentioned earlier, I'm the newly appointed or elected chair of this commission. I grew up in this community. I grew up in Burnt Ranch, went to Hoopa High School, and I, at a very young age, learned how important community is and how important a healthy community is. And I have been an advocate for that my whole life. I feel I became a part of the commission. It's been four years, I believe, almost exactly 4 years in January. And it's really been, I didn't understand it was a life dream, but once I started participating, I realized it was exactly where I always wanted to be in this community. And I've had the great honor of working with, through this commission, our previous chair, Jim Glover, and some other great folks in this community that have great legacies like Bird Lochte and Larry Miller that have really put their life's blood into this commission. And I am quite proud to be a part of that. So I would like to dive right in. One of the tasks that our past chair gave me was to generate more interest around the commission and bring on new commissioners. And you did just meet Lisa. She's one of our newest commissioners. You'll be meeting another one tomorrow, David Haney, who is also our secretary right now. But that's one of my tasks. The other task was to help get our community more engaged and figure out a way for our community to understand how to work with us and interact with us. As I've stated, we are an all volunteer commission, yet we are a part of the government. that gets a little bit confusing, I think, for people. It was a little confusing for me at first, frankly. But what does that really mean? Well, that really means that all of us as commissioners put our sweat and tears into the projects that we put together. And you're going to hear a lot of the work we do over the next 30 minutes. It also means that we're not funded. So we do not have funding for things like Zoom and posters and other things that other governments of body have. It also means that we as commissioners do all the work. It means that we put out the agendas, we put the agendas together, we create all the outreach assets you see, we wrote the Human Trafficking Fund, we organize ourselves administratively. So we're a really grassroots commission that's really here because we care. And as a community, we're a great asset for you in that manner, because it also allows us to stand strong and with integrity on the matters that we address. So let's dive in to what we're doing on a daily basis and how you can connect with us. We meet once a month. Those meetings are published on our county website, which if you go to the regular county website and Google human rights, you can find us there. The agendas are published just like all the other commission's agendas. So you can always find our link to our Zoom, the phone number to call in. We also put these on Facebook Live. They are now, thanks to Access Humboldt, going to be put on Access Humboldt and their YouTubes. And tomorrow's listening session is also going to be aired on KMED. So we're working really hard to be as accessible to you as possible. If you go onto our website, there's our email, which you can contact us through that county email. There's also a phone number. It's a message line that we check regularly. We have a 2-week schedule where volunteers of the commission call in and check those messages and then relay them to whoever needs that information. Or maybe if you need something from us, we'll call you back and have a discussion. But those are the 2 ways to directly reach us, is through the county website email and then through the phone number on that email. If you have an issue that you feel that we need to address, how do you get us to listen? You know, we have heard in the community that people don't understand that we even exist. And so how can we hear? Well, you send us an email, give us a call. We have a sheet that we fill out that helps us understand and circle back to you. We are working on a new survey, which we hope to launch in January, that'll also be on our website, that you'll be able to fill out with your complaints or your information that you wish to share with us. But don't stop there. Sending an email isn't using your voice, and we need to hear you. So come to our meetings. Like I said, those links are posted on the county website on our agendas every month, 72 hours before the meetings. Our meetings are the first Thursday of every month at 5 p.m. And right now you just can call in and participate. We want to hear what you have to say during public comment. And when you come to public comment and share your story, it allows us as commissioners to take action. We have to follow the board process, just like the Board of Supervisors, and we have to follow the Brown Act, just like the Board of Supervisors, which means that we have to take very diligent, purposeful steps in order to meet our goals. Our human trafficking, which you'll hear about soon, to meet the goal that we set for ourselves, it took us 2 years in order to connect with all the appropriate organizations and departments, in order to follow all the processes that we had to, and in order to meet legally around the Brown Act. So please understand that we are working, but it does take time to make mountains move. All right, commissioners, is there anything that you think I've missed that we should educate our community about on how to reach out to us and how our process works?
No, I think you did a great job, and just to reinforce that, it's very important to participate. If people do not participate, it's all our responsibility. So yes.
Thank you. Yes. And thank you for saying that, because that reminded me of something that I really wanted to say and I forgot is, if you look up what is the role of a human rights commission and a human rights commissioner, and if you look at what human rights commissions have done across the globe, our primary role is to help bridge the gap between marginalized communities and policymakers. We are appointed by the Board of Supervisors, but our job is to help our county hear what you need and to help organize those needs in a way that create change. But we can't do that without your help. Lisa, do you have anything that you would like to add before we move on to what we talk about, what we're doing now?
Just to encourage people to bring their ideas. It's one thing to have a challenge, and I encourage people is that when you think of the challenges you are seeing, there are people out there that have solved these things already, and if you see that, bring that knowledge to the table, because it does us no good to come and commiserate together. I don't want to use this time, my time, for that. I'm not here for that. I'm volunteering my time because I am a strategist. I'm an advocate for issues. And if you know how to do something, bring it so we can solve things and get on to the other, important things of a community. But it takes, I can't imagine that there aren't brilliant people around us. We need to get them to the table. This is a great forum to create that. And I thank you for that, for making this possible. I think that this is a really great step that I'm coming in at. I wasn't here for the last 2 years of frustration. Thank you for that. And now this is a great forum to start bringing people together. So I would encourage you, even if you have an issue, get the people that are brainiacs to these sessions, because we need input.
Yes, really good point, Lisa. That needs to be made is that, we are a volunteer commission, but what we do have is political ability to maneuver and present things that the public necessarily can't do. So maybe we don't have time to build all the solutions quickly, but we do have time if well thought out solutions are brought to us to support them as well. So please keep that in mind. We were great advocates. We've all called ourselves advocates in this conversation. So please, if you have a solution that you feel isn't being heard, bring it to us, and we would like to consider it. All right, I am going to dive into now what we do, what we've been doing, and thank you for listening so far. And please, everyone that is listening, the call-in number is in the information above, and you can call in and ask questions at the last bit of this conversation. But then at noon today is the county listening session, where Sheriff Hansel and Supervisor Bass will be joining us to hear what you think about the state of human rights in Humboldt County. Bring us solutions, tell us where we need to look. We're super excited to get to hear from everybody. Okay. Well, now I'm going to dive into what are we working on now? What have we created as a commission thus far? And I'm going to start with my favorite committee that I have a lot of heart around. You know what? I'm going to invite Monique in since Larry isn't here. Hi, Monique. Are you prepared to be on camera, darling? She might not. She wasn't expecting to get put in on camera. So we'll just wait and see. All right, so we're gonna dive in. So I talked about I briefly mentioned how we have committees, standing committees, and ad hoc committees. They're two different things, and it's very important that to understand the difference. A standing committee is a committee that is governed under the Brown Act. So what that means is that we have to give 72 hours notice before a meeting to the public. It means that only a certain amount of commissioners can meet. Like today's meeting, you're not seeing the whole commission because we can only meet 4 at a time, or we're violating the Brown Act. And that committee has more fiscal responsibilities and reporting responsibilities. And we have 2 committees like that. One is the Human Trafficking Committee, and the other is Sanctuary Committee. I was the first chair of the Human Trafficking Committee, and it was one of the reasons it's my favorite committee, because we were able to write a grant that is managed by the Humboldt Area Foundation and was approved and supported and paid for by the Humboldt County Board of Supervisors. And Eddie is now the chair. Eddie, would you please share with our community more about the Human Trafficking Fund?
Well, yes, definitely. Well, the first of all, we have to thank Lena for starting the trafficking commission or committee, standing committee, which has been for, I want to say, 3 years now, and a lot of exciting things have gone on. One of the first things that I think is very exciting is that we've actually been able to get some money to support it, and we had different grants been given to different organizations that are working for anti-trafficking. And one of the programs that we have is, and you might have seen the posters on the different buses that we've had running around, the public buses. And this particular organization actually has a web page and working on an app where people can, if they feel or they have some sense idea that they're being trafficking or knowing that they're trafficking, they can get in touch with people that have been in the same experiences or have had those experiences. And it's very difficult because it's a very sensitive topic, and it's important to understand that there's a lot of confidentiality, and so the way this is worked with is that we have and help me out with the names here. I always want to call her Tina. No, you're on me.
Trina Taylor.
Trina Taylor.
EPI, yes, she's
done a great job, and she has a web page, and basically if you went ahead and Googled human rights anti-trafficking, it would take her to her page, and she has a number, and you can see the number on the public transit here in Eureka. And if you called the number or if you got it, you could get in contact with resources that people have had those experiences or have been in those circles, things that have helped them. And so be a contact for a place to stay. There's a lot of things, and I don't want to get too deep into it because it's a very sensitive topic. But I think the important message to understand that the human trafficking is a very sensitive and topic, and there's a lot of confidentialities, and getting people's trust takes a long time. And Tina has done a great job doing that. Also, we've had other organizations that want to come to the table and help with that. They also received different grants. And because of the COVID, there's been a little, we haven't moved forward as fast, but there's a lot of different organizations that are helping in that. And we are creating the digital accessibility for people to get on. And not only that, but also phone and other methods. Lelana, I know you love this topic, so please feel free to add things to it.
Absolutely. So I appreciate what you said about the delicacy of the topic, because it was a 2-year process to get to the point where we actually had a grant to give out. And that was because it took a lot of really privileged conversations with victims and activists to understand what was going on. And what we first did is we invited some of those survivors. We invited the Humboldt County Sheriff's Department, the local the APD, EPD, the DA's office came, DHHS came, the Seroptimists came, many organizations came. We hosted a stakeholders meeting because what we discovered is that no one believed that human trafficking was happening in Humboldt County. And when the young woman started her project, oh, good Lord, I'm going to forget her name. I can see her face. She came to us, and I grew up here, so I understood what she was talking about. But when we took it on, Elle Snow, that is her name. Elle Snow came to us and said, you guys need to pay attention. And that's when we created the committee. And then we went out and we talked to the sheriffs and we talked to many of the different agencies, and they said, we don't have any numbers, we don't have any information, we hear about it, but there's no stats. And government needs numbers and government needs information to get funding to move forward on things. So we went out and we talked to people. We talked to the probation officer. We talked to many different agencies and community members. I had a friend who had a personal experience that was horrifying, that very much motivated me during that time as well, and really imprinted on me how serious this was. We also had an amazing survivor come out of the closet through that and report her experience and talk about her experience publicly, which really helped bring awareness in this community around that. And Eddie mentioned Katrina Taylor. Katrina Taylor is also a survivor who has taken her experience and turned herself into an advocate. And she has put a lot of work into creating this website that's a resource that has many layers. So there is confidentiality. So not everybody can find out where housing is on that resource. Not everybody can get to help. Everyone can get to the general resources, but there's steps that you have to go through. You know, the sheriff can get through certain layers. Arcata House can get through certain layers, things like that. There's a system built so people are protected. As well as that, Katrina with EPI created the hotline that you can call in and get help. This organization brings toiletries to women on the streets. This organization does rescue work. There's a lot of things that happen that we can't fully disclose because you just don't want to put people at risk. The other organization that we supported was, oh gosh, I'm dyslexic. Lisa, what is the exact name of Kutcha's organization? Is it Murdered and Indigenous Women?
You know, I don't know the exact name, but it's for, yeah, those purposes. Yes.
Yes. We helped support them in creating a dance workshop around healing women who have been through this trauma. Those were the first 2 funds that we supported in the first year. And then we had to go back to the Board of Supervisors and ask again for money. And they give us a little over $21,000 a year so far. And then we went out and we had to let people know again, come. We hosted another stakeholders meeting for people to talk about what they thought this new grant should do. And we determined the first year we focused on collaboration, because we realized that all these different people had little things going on, but no one was connecting. So sorry. But no one was connecting. And we realized the other thing that was missing. The other thing that was missing was, goodness. Now I don't know how to get back on. There we go. The other thing that was missing was understanding and education. And so the first year, that's why the money went to those two organizations, because that's what they were doing. EPI was building collaboration and outreach, and Kutcher Riesling's organization was creating more education through this dance program. The next year, through our stakeholders meeting, we realized that there needed to be more rehabilitation, more support for how do we help solve this problem? And so that is where the hotline came up. Katrina also did a marketing program that we funded on the back of a local bus, because that transportation system is used much by people who are involved in this, I don't want to call it an industry, but in this issue. And we felt we needed more education and outreach. And so Arcata Playhouse also received funds, and initially they were planning on hosting a series of plays and education, but they pivoted really well with COVID and did a digital online storytelling series around murdered and Indigenous women. And then the other organization that we supported is a young woman with Girl Scouts, and she's working on getting her, Eddie, do you know what is it called in Girl Scouts? Not Eagle Scout, but it's the same merit kind of badge.
No, I do not know what that is, but
I think it's a gold star, but I'm not.
It's a like in all scouts, it's something that brings a lot of honor, and it's something that builds people's confidence and leadership abilities. And this is a great thing for young women to accomplish those things. So receiving this award would be very beneficial for her and for the community.
Yes, absolutely. And so she is creating a program that helps high school women come together and support each other in empowering them so they're not at risk for human trafficking. And as it stands now, we have a little, I think a little under $5,000 left in the fund. Applications are open for folks who feel that they have a mission. The main qualifications are that you're associated with a nonprofit. So you have fiscal responsibility, but there are nonprofits in this community that are willing to sponsor businesses, students, and other people who feel passionate about this, and we can help you navigate that as well. So can Humboldt Area Foundation, who manages this fund. Lisa, as a new commissioner and on this committee, do you have anything that you would like to add?
Well, I'm just glad that the awareness building is there. I like the idea of being able to take this out to schools to prepare people. I think that it's worthy cause. It is gaining speed and momentum in Indian country for sure. And again, part of my passion is because we've had issues in our at our own home front here locally. And so I just was attending. I just out of because we had lost a couple of our own tribal members, and we only have 135 members at Trinidad Rancheria, and we've had a couple of murders that have happened, which makes our per capita very, very high here of our local indigenous communities. And so I just like any effort to bring not only light, but education into systems that we can just take it all the way out to wherever we need to. So at this time, that's what I want to share. Thank you.
I also like to share something really quick. And you touched on this a little bit, but I think it's also very important to understand that organizations like this take time to build, and we're doing a very good job gathering data and information and skill sets and general know-how to do things. So yeah, sometimes we're doing things for the first time, but that's something we will know how to do better, and we're building on that. So it's a very laborious thing to do, but that's definitely somewhere we're moving forward. I think it'll be for the best of the community in the future.
Thank you, Eddie. I agree. I love this place. I think we have amazing people, but we do have a lot of places to hide, and we have a culture that's created great hiding. And now's the time to unveil all that. All right, if commissioners, if you don't have anything to add, anything more, go ahead, Lisa.
I think we have to, if we know these entities are out there, what is the counter to that? What is, what have other communities done to counter it successfully? So I just like to hear those types of things, because it's the knowing and creating the platform, but what is it that drives that? And how do you take how do you transform that? I love to, work on transformation of this whole thought process. And I think they're just bad communicators.
It comes down to empowerment. If the community, human trafficking is a victim crime. They prey on people who are easily to manipulate. And so when you build a community of empowered people who feel good about themselves and make healthy decisions, then it's less easy for human traffickers to prey upon the community. Shame is a really big cause of human trafficking. And we have a community that for many diverse reasons has had to hide. And I think it's created a lot of unhealthiness. And so the research, when we were working on this, building it, it really, and even the sheriff, I asked him, I think it was last year, I said, okay, so now that we've done all this work, what is the number one thing that you think we can do to help make this better? And he looked at me and he goes, Lania, empower women.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Lillian.
No, that just meant it was very, it impacted me, him saying that.
But what else is the driver, though? What's the driver of the entities that are wanting to do that? What can we do to transform that thinking?
I think part of it, like in Kosovo and in Bosnia, where there was a lot of human trafficking going on, and it goes back to shaming. And so being able to be transparent, and then getting into the habit and practicing people communicating and telling you, hey, this is what's going on, which takes time, and creating that confidence. I know our experiences in Kosovo is that a lot of traffickers would tell women, hey, we'll tell your parents that you're not a virgin. And they would use that as a tactic to keep people quiet. So the more you can make it that, hey, we're all talking about this, it's out there, and people build confidence in these different organizations, then it is so much harder for those people to hide. Like Lelana said, those hiding places start to disappear.
Right. It really, and I think we're, as a community, we're getting back to that strong place again. I mean, we've come together so much through COVID. All right, commissioners, we're moving along here. I want to move us along a little quicker. Can we move on to the next committee, the sanctuary?
Sure.
All right. So our next and our last standing committee is the Sanctuary Committee. A few years ago, sanctuary cities was a big movement, and Humboldt County became one of those places. What does that mean? And is it just on a piece of paper? Well, it actually means quite a bit. It means that our local law enforcement, all government bodies, do not engage in the business of deportation. We do not cooperate. We are mandated to not engage in those issues. Sanctuary laws do not prevent undocumented immigrants from being prosecuted for criminal activity, and state and federal laws address the situations of criminal offenses, but it means that we, as county officials and servants of the community, will not engage in that conversation. Now, for us as a Human Rights Commission, especially because we're a volunteer commission, it gets a little tricky because we've been mandated, and I will read to you exactly what our role is, to review these complaints. And what kind of complaints are those? Well, first, if someone had a complaint against our law enforcement, if someone had a complaint against our local government, if someone had a complaint against social services or the probation offices, you would file that complaint through law enforcement, and then it would be given to us to review. And I'm just going to read you exactly what our actions are. The Human Rights Commission reviews the compliance of county departments, agencies, commissions, and employees when the mandates of the ordinance, when there is question of non-compliance or when a complaint alleging non-compliance has been lodged. The commission will inform the agency being complained of and shall allow for comments and materials from all parties named in the complaint. A written report with the commission's findings shall be submitted to the Board of Supervisors within 60 days after the first meeting following the submission of the complaint. We understand that there might be some fear in filing these complaints, but we really want to encourage you that if you are fearful, please call our hotline or send us an email. A lot of us also are on social media, and you can find us that way. But we do want to hear from you. I'm pleased to say that we have yet to have a report, but we will definitely take it seriously and do our due diligence if we receive a report. Commissioners, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No.
Not.
All right. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to our ad hoc committees. Ad hoc committees, and I'm going to move through rather quickly because we're going to be able to discuss all of this also at the listening sessions. The ad hoc committees are more loose. You know, we meet in a coffee shop. We don't have to call an official. We don't have to notify the public 72 hours in advance. The public is welcome to join us, but we really kind of roll our sleeves up in those meetings and get the work done. Our first committee, I'll bring Eddie on, is the Digital Accessibility Committee. And Eddie is the chair of that committee. Eddie, would you like to tell us about that committee?
Yes, actually, it's one of my favorite committees. And it's the bottom line when it comes to digital accessibility, and this is the thought. If you think of the Brown Act and a lot of the different things that we function under, were laws and regulations that were made a long time ago, be it in the 60s or even before that. And it is obvious that technology has an immense impact on the way we think, on the way we function, and it has an impact on our society. I would make the argument to you that a lot of the improvements or epiphanies that we have, or the way we've changed thinking about things, are thanks to a larger degree to technology. It's not like we've just became better people in the last 20 or 30 years or more aware, and that we have, but a lot of that is thanks to technology. And the reason that we can improve is thanks to technology. And so when it comes to digital accessibility, I always make the argument, if somebody wanted to come to a human rights meeting, would it be more expensive for them in today's world to get on the bus and travel from even from Blue Lake or from anywhere to Eureka and come into a room? Or would it be cheaper or more accessible for them to get on their cell phone? Yes, you're waving your hand there.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just got a note that Supervisor Bass is in the waiting room.
Yep.
Would you like to let her in, or
I'd love to let her in?
And then keep going, because she can join in on these conversations with us.
There you go. So, what I was saying is that the technology affects our society, and it has an impact. And a lot of the rules and regulations have been written in the past, and as a society, as a community, we are just catching up on them. And this isn't true in a lot of different arenas, industries, and things of that nature. So what the Digital Accessibility Committee is making the move is that we need to make digital accessibility more aware and accessible to people that don't have access. And that's not only in internet speeds, but also in techniques and getting people used to using it. I mean, just imagine what we're doing right now at this moment. A lot of us would not thought that possible 2 years ago. I know a lot of us tried to do things like we're doing right now, being on Zoom and talking to each other. But the fact is that this technology has been around since at least 2004. I remember the first time I did a video conference of this kind was in 2004. And so having technology help us with our human rights, with our ability to be better citizens, for our ability to be better members of the community is the objective of the digital accessibility. So what we're looking at is how can we make more people join different groups and inform us, like the Human Rights Commission, so that we can move forward as a community. So Lelana, if there's anything you want to add to that, feel free. But I think I'd like to end that just don't think of digital accessibility as bandwidth, internet. Think of it as people getting used to using technologies, people trusting technologies so we can better communicate and move forward the different issues that we have challenging our community.
I just want to add that you've also done a lot of work, you know, as a commission until Eddie came on, we were file cabinets. And we were slowly transitioning into Google Docs, but when Eddie came on the commission, we're now becoming not only digital accessible to our community, but as commissioners, we're learning how to function digitally so we can function faster for you as a community. Eddie, you sent me a note
Can I just add to that? Because you're right, I totally forgot talking about that. Because when I was talking about not only being able to use a different thing, but also being used to using them, our behavior has to change a little bit when we have a new technology, if we're really going to incorporate it. And then there has to be a different mindset. And so that there's going to be so much more information available there. So if we want to combat anti-trafficking, using all the databases and having our information together can build trust in the community, because it can make us more responsive. So it's not, it's not only having a technology, but also practicing it and knowing how to use it to the best ability that creates confidence in the communities.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Eddie, you sent me a note that Supervisor Bass was in the waiting room. Could you ask her if she wishes to come in and join the conversation, or does she wish to wait till noon?
Well, you know, I asked her that, I didn't get a reply. And then I tried to have her come into the room, and she tried to get into the room and then she got knocked off or something. Okay, and now she's no longer in the waiting room at all.
Okay, so maybe she'll come back at noon, hopefully.
Yeah, we have 3 guests right now in the waiting room.
Okay, we've got a few more things we got to. So Lisa, did you have something to add real quickly?
Yes, I just wanted to say the importance of the infrastructure of digital technology, or just our even communication systems, because we are rural here in Humboldt County, and we are under COVID. The healthcare is probably one of the highest things that I see in the space that I work on outside of this commission, is essentially behavioral health is a huge gaping hole in the whole entire system, where suicides and people that need counseling, drug rehab, or people that need counseling of those types of things. That is very difficult to do in a time where you're in lockdown. And so I just want to point out how important it is to bring awareness to it. And when you're in a rural area, which a lot of our Native people are, you can't get access to even, video conferencing or Zoom or social media, that type of thing. So making things more available to people in infrastructure is key to behavioral health. The number one answer, it's like the fallout that seems to have a big hole in it. So
Thank
thanks.
you. Great point, Lisa. It really, yeah, it's all about communication, healthy communication. And if we're not accessible to communicate, then we assume so much. All right, I want to move on. We have three more topics, and we're almost at the top of 11, and we need a break before we start in on the listening sessions. So the next item on the agenda is Racism and Cultural Awareness Committee. That committee, well, actually, I'd like to first start with the Humboldt Kindness Committee, because that explains the Racism and Cultural Awareness Committee. About, was it a year and a half ago, Eddie? I'm not sure how long ago it was. We created a committee due to a lot of the hate speech that was happening online. And it was the Anti-Hate Committee. The chair of that committee left the area, and I was asked to become chair. I personally had a very hard time saying the word hate all the time. And so what we did, and that committee had a very, very full agenda that was going to be very difficult for one committee to really work through. And so what we did is we broke that up into 3 objectives that were kind of all put together in that one committee. And you've just heard about one of them. One of them was digital accessibility. How do we communicate healthier and better? How do we as a commission, all those things that Eddie just spoke to you about. The other committee was the Humboldt Kindness Committee. And that committee was a social marketing campaign to promote acts of kindness in Humboldt County with the hashtag Humboldt Kindness. It started January of last year. And we as commissioners, other community members, local law enforcement, board of supervisors have been using that hashtag, as well as a Facebook page to promote acts of kindness. That is still going. And so all of you could use the hashtag on your social media, hashtag Humboldt Kindness, and help support all of us learning what acts of kindness are for each other. The third part of that committee came out was cultural awareness. We soon, due to what's the changes in our world and all the awareness coming, and due the request of our committee, change that committee to racism and cultural awareness. Our first chair of that committee left the commission. He was very rural, and COVID made it very difficult. And then we brought in another chair who also unfortunately became ill, and now we have a new chair coming on, David Haney, and we have a lot of exciting things that we're going to start creating around, not just from this committee, but we've also gotten a lot of influence from the community around this. I've received about 25 letters around the ACLU's letter on how our Indigenous peoples are being educated, and really brought to light and gave us some fuel to be able to create some real change. Now, Lisa, you are a member of that committee. Would you like to speak on the subject matter really briefly at all?
Sure. Well, other than, I look at it from I would like to, at least my position is to start looking where it exists systemically. Because unless it's one thing to call it out in racism, I think there's a deeper word behind that, because the same people that are now crying foul about the same issues that, natives and other, colored people have been complaining about, it's almost like it's parallel, over COVID and the feeling that someone's rights are being violated. When you come to the whole argument of wearing a face mask and social distancing, it's like when you have your rights taken away, it is when you single people out, period. And I really like to transform how we even think about it collectively as a community, because it just keeps morphing. I think it has a different it's so devious. We have to really, it just keeps changing faces, and it hits so many different people, and it doesn't share the color. It really, and so I like to, for me, I would like to actually broaden it a little bit. Even though my culture has been obviously raped and pillaged and all these other things, and human trafficked, we had it all, so we're not new to any of it. But I think if we're going to tackle the impact of it, we really have to call it out for what it is.
I think it circles right back to what you were saying around, and what we're all saying around human trafficking is community wellness, right? Behavioral health. We need to help create a community where that's not a conversation anymore. But how do we do that? I think I'm excited to have your committee come back to the commission with some solutions this next month in January. I'm really excited about that. And I think I'm hoping today that we're going to hear solutions from our community as well on it. I'm looking forward to that. All right, I would like to move on to the next item, which is the Cannabis Inquiry Survey. I'm the chair of that commission, with myself, with Erin Rowe and Marianne Loyens. The three of us created a survey that is asking our whole community how cannabis has impacted, or if cannabis has or is impacting their human rights. I come from that experience in this community, so I have my own personal opinion. And as a commissioner, I found it a little frustrating of how we could address problems without addressing our biggest economic engine. But as a commissioner, I am not here for my own purpose. But this year, we had community members reach out to us asking us to take a look at this and to have this conversation. And as a commission, we decided that the best course of action, similar to human trafficking, was to ask, because we legally have never been able to ask this question. And with legalization, now we can inquire, now we can openly have these conversations. And we have been hearing that there is a community out there, a body of community out there that feels marginalized by the transition of the cannabis market. We have also heard in the past that other aspects of this community have felt oppressed by the cannabis community. We have heard the cannabis community feel oppressed. And we can't begin to address all those issues unless we understand what's going on. And this survey is for that purpose. You can find that survey on our website. You can also find it on all our Facebook areas. And we will be sure to post it again after today's event, and even during the break, I'll post it for you. Commissioners, do you have anything? Oh, I also want to add a great thanks to the UC Berkeley Cannabis Research Center. They have been supporting us on this survey, helping ensure that it's done with integrity and professionally, and we've gotten some really positive feedback. We're also going to get their support on putting the report together so we can ensure that the integrity is really strong around it. Commissioners, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, just on
Go ahead.
on our Facebook, we had a couple of people. We have Diana Hardwick, Marilyn Jarvis, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing their names, Star Fala, and Marlon Jarvis showing their support.
Thank you. We appreciate that a lot. The support of the community is what keeps us functioning, and it allows us to create solutions. Lisa, I think, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I just, I think cannabis is a plant, first of all, and I really want to, I really hope that we can transition the mindset of just people in general of the fear of cannabis as a plant and just look at it as a natural medicine. Because as a Native person, I want rights to study anything that can impact the health of someone. And the mere fact that we call ourselves a free country and we can't study these things, it bothers me to know, to the core of my being, when natural medicine is prohibited. Even our psilocybins and things like that that are indigenous to our community, to be able to look at it as a medicine, especially as it impacts PTSD and things like that we've seen people that have done it kind of underground or whatever. But there's so much there, and I've learned over time that we're like the Amazon in North America. Cannabis is one of many things, and we have such a great history of it. So it just makes sense to bring that research and bring those types of studies here so that we can benefit from it medically, with its all true efficacy of it. So I'm really hoping that how it impacts me, I would like to see dosages and things like that so that we can move it into our healthcare systems. So that's kind of research that we need.
I think where it's valid as a human rights commission, and what you brought up is community health, especially when we're talking about COVID and isolation and having to self-sustain. We are very blessed to have not just cannabis, but so many medicines. The lichen is a medicine in our community.
Yep. Amen.
Amen. All right. Well, this is how we function. These are the issues that are on our agenda right now. We do have some more things coming up that we're going to discuss in January, like homelessness, that has been on our agenda. It's coming back onto our agenda. We're very concerned about the impacts of COVID as we move forward, and we want to see how we can help support other organizations and folks in the community around that conversation. Martin Luther King month is celebration is next month. We're not sure how we're going to celebrate that. We're waiting to hear from the ACLU. Normally we all get together at the Adorney Center every year, but of course this year it's going to be a little different. Commissioners, before I open the floor to the public and we take our break before the 12 o'clock listening session, do you have any last words you'd like to say to the community?
Very quickly, participate. I think it's very important to participate.
Mm-hmm. And mine is bring your ideas, bring it, come to our meetings. If we have breakout meetings with our ad hoc committees and you're a brainiac and you have solutions, by all means, come, bring it. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. And I just want to back both commissioners up on participate, communicate with us. We can't do everything, but we can support a lot. And we have a lot of creative ways to support different organizations and individuals that are doing good things. So please bring it to us. We're all do-gooders, like Lisa has said a few times, volunteer do-gooders. And we do have a few members of the public joining us via Zoom. And then maybe if anyone on Facebook Live has any questions, you can also post them there and Eddie will relay it to us. And I'd like to open the floor for a 20-minute conversation, and then we're going to take a 30-minute break and come back on with Supervisor Bass and Sheriff Hansel and the commissioners.
Oh, yeah.
You can call in at 1-669-900.
Okay.
6833. All right, well, let's open the floor to the public.
All right, everybody. Okay.
If anybody would like to, if anyone has any public comment or any questions on what we just discussed, please raise your hand. or unmute yourself if that works better.
Yes, everybody should be able to unmute themselves. And I see that Pi Lee is still trying to connect.
All right, well, we'll wait for them. And if there's no comments, we can sign off until noon. Melody, did you have any comments?
I do not. Sorry, I just joined.
Well, thank you for joining. I hope you'll come at noon for the listening sessions where we hope to get lots of comments.
I will.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. Pai Lai, are you wanting to make any public comments, or would you like to comment during the listening session?
I think she's having an issue with her connectivity. She's trying to connect audioly, and it's not coming through. I can see.
Boy, I hope that we're going to be able to get everybody on today.
Yeah. I think we will. And then if anybody, the Facebook is a very low bandwidth, so anybody puts a comment on Facebook, we can do that. I think Pi, I think, has just got in.
Hi, Pi. Did you have any comments or questions after the first part of the session? No. All right. Well, I hope everybody will come back and join us with Sheriff Hansel, Supervisor Bass, and Eddie and Lisa and myself at noon. We're all going to talk about briefly, take our 3 minutes to discuss what we think the state of human rights are in Humboldt County. And then the rest of the time is us listening to you. We look forward to getting your input. You can do that either by calling in at 1-669-900-6833 or coming on to the Facebook Live and asking questions there. We look forward to seeing you all back in about 49 minutes. It's 11:11.
Awesome.
Okay, so I'm going to stop the live stream. If you could stop the recording, Eddie, and then I'm going to leave this on and put us back on with just my screen share.
You know what? How about let's just shut it down for a second so I can start the downloading the recording.
Okay.
And then come back in. So let's turn it off for 5 minutes and then come back on.
All right. So we're going to end this and then we'll be right back, everybody.